This is So today we read from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the first canto, chapter 5, text 39. Right? I just read the shloka. Imam swanigamam brahman avetya mat anushtitam adanme jnanam aishwaryam swashmin bhavam chakeshavaha imam das swanigamam confidential knowledge of the Vedas in respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahman, O Brahmana, Vyasadev, Avetya, knowing it well, Mat, by me, Anushtitam, executed, Adat, bestowed upon me, me, Jnanam, transcendental knowledge, Aishwaryam, opulence, Swashmin, personal, Bhavan, intimate affection and love, Cha, and Keshavaha, Lord Krishna. Translation. O Brahmana, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Communion with the Lord by transmission of the transcendental sound is non-different from the Holy Spirit, Lord Sri Krishna. It is a complete, perfect method for approaching the Lord. By such pure contact with the Lord without offense of material conceptions, numbering 10, the devotee can rise above the material plane to understand the inner meaning of the Vedic literatures, including the Lord's existence in a transcendental realm. The Lord reveals his identity gradually to one who has unflinching faith, both in the spiritual master and in the Lord. After this, the devotee is endowed with mystic opulences, which are 8 in number. And above all, the devotee is accepted in the confidential entourage of the Lord and is entrusted with specific service of the Lord through the agency of the spiritual master. A pure devotee is more interested in serving the Lord than in showing an exhibition of the mystic powers dormant in him. Sri Narada has explained all these from his personal experience, and one can obtain all the facilities which Sri Narada obtained by perfecting the chanting process of the sound representation of the Lord. There is no bar for chanting this transcendental sound by anyone, provided it is received through Narada's representative, coming down by the chain of disciplic succession or the parampara system. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swam iti namini Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srinyavari Pashkati Desatarne. O Brahmana, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in the confidential part of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. So this is, we can learn from Narada Muni that even receiving or being entirely transcendental personality, originally a son of a maidservant, he was endowed. That means actually he received gifts. It was given to him. So this is it's a very essential point. Prabhupada said we should never forget where we come from. Nothing, but absolutely nothing what we are doing here is coming from us. I don't think anybody sitting here would get the idea to start a spiritual movement, develop a temple like this, install the form of the God like this, yeah? Yeah, it's okay. Nobody would, who are we? I always like to hear the stories of the devotees approaching Krishna consciousness. This is very educational. Once in Czech Republic, this is unfortunate, it didn't last for long. Actually, it was my idea that Vyasa Puja is for everybody. So we enlarged the Vyasa Puja offering book, to everybody. Everybody could submit an offering to Srila Prabhupada. I tell you, it was great. People you hardly knew, what they wrote about Prabhupada, how they had their offering, were fantastic. But it is a typical Czech attitude to make a little joke always aside. So, to make it more personal, every offering carried a picture of the devotee. And not only that, but it carried two pictures. The picture of the devotee before he joined and after he joined. Usually the picture before he joined was taken from the passport, which usually terrifying photos, I don't know why passport photos are usually so incredibly ghastly, passport, So, and it was wonderfully perceived just by the photos. What a change. The passport photo was just, and then there was this smiling, bright devotee. Prabhupada loved that. He loved this. He said, he writes in Krishna book, before my disciples joined, they didn't look very happy. They didn't look very clean. They looked very depressed. Can you imagine? They were all young people, but they looked like really, don't think that hippies were just a bunch of happy singing people. How can you be a bunch of happy singing people when you are intoxicated, full of lust, planning how to have the next sex life with whomever? That was the hippie culture, everybody with everybody everywhere. So, so how can you be happy? Impossible. But there was a search for happiness, yes. There was an idea and there was a search and desire to become happy. Well, that's where Prabhupada comes in. And our happiness is completely mysterious to materialists. First, we forbid everything. All the fun is gone. No meat eating, no illicit sex life, no intoxication, no gambling. Finished. So people think now the fun is really over. That's what shocked me. I was not really much indulged with these things. But what shocked me was that I met a group of people who were forbidden many things. They didn't, obviously there was rules and regulations. They were restricted, they were disciplined. There was basically like an army. But where do you find happy people in the army? No. Because it's just restrictions and just regulations. No fun, really, in the army, no fun. So, and these people were ecstatic. They didn't have anything, they were forbidden everything, and they were ecstatic. So obviously, they had something which nobody else had. And Srila Prabhupada's very essential question, right away from the beginning, to the devotees was, are you happy? Now when Prabhupada asked these questions, the response was just hilarious. In presence of Prabhupada, you had to be happy, even without planning for it. Actually, I didn't plan to be happy to Krishna consciousness. I planned to, I had a plan. I was thinking, this is a good place to die. And devotees told me that. I joined in Germany, German sense of humor is very minimal. Sorry. When Germans make a joke, they have a carnival time. When they have a joke, they always blow a trumpet. So everybody understands, that was a joke. This is German humor. You always blow a trumpet. This is a German humor, So when I joined this movement, devotees were ecstatic in a kirtan. But outside of that, in interrelationship, I didn't find much love. Laugh? What do you mean I laugh? Don't be sentimental. Fulfill your duty and die. That was the preaching I got when I walked in the door. The first thing devotees told me, welcome, this is a perfect place to die. And I actually thought, yeah, why not? I was really in a mood, I was going, yeah, why not? The idea that we all have to die was very familiar to me. It was, I saw dying things all the time. I saw, everybody's dying around me, so I will also die. That was kind of common sense. So I was going, well, if I have to die, well, this is a good place to die. Why not? And I realized later on, many, many devotees have the same, understanding. My best friends in Krishna consciousness, we share all one thing. We are dying. And we meet each other. Hey, you are still alive. It's amazing. What about him? Oh, he already died. Okay. This is the association I have. People think, oh, this is like morbid. This is, No. We are very happy people. We are happily dying. Yes? Yes? So this you find only in Krishna consciousness. Outside of that, people are scared. They are horrified. They all know they will die. They know that. Just passing by the cemetery is enough. Yeah? And when somebody dies, they just, You know why they are crying at the funeral? Because they think, I am the next. That's all. They don't care for that dead guy. They just, the relatives are already fighting for the inheritance. That's the real thing. Inheritance. People turn into monsters when it comes to inheritance. Yeah. But the dead guy, they bury him and bye-bye. Actually, burying people is becoming very unpopular. Because then you have to go and take care of the grave. So much work. So anonymous, funerals are very common actually. You just burn the body and then put the ashes somewhere in a countryside and that's it. Yeah. I wouldn't mind if somebody does that to my body. It's just, I don't want to go too much in detail, but my concern about this of dying is, what will people do with this? I don't want to give anybody trouble, Yeah. what do you leave behind? A rotting body. That's the heritage. My dear relatives, my dear children, here you have my rotting body. Great. And who wants to keep it? Yeah. There are cultures which actually were preserving bodies, to keep it. No, you cannot keep it. It falls apart anyway. One way or another, this body will go. So, these bodily cultures, like Egyptian, mummifying the bodies, thinking that with the same body you will go to heavenly planets or whatever. It's impossible. Very primitive idea, actually. There's even a Christian sect, very popular sect, which propagates that one day Jesus comes and the grace will open and we will all together go back to Jesus, to heaven. Heaven. Prabhupada said Christians don't go back home, back to Godhead. They go to heaven. They are saying this. This is included in the prayers. Let's go to heaven. So a good Christian acting according to Bible goes to heaven. Prabhupada said that. So, and then the grace open and we all go to heaven. With what? Well, people come out of the graves and go to heaven. Well, that's a really morbid idea, What kind of heaven will be that, All the rotten skeletons in heaven, come on. And when you ask them these questions, they have no answer. They cannot explain this. And then I always joke, and actually I met a humorous man who was Christian, but he had a sense of humor. He said, actually you are right. Must be horrible to go to heaven and to meet your mother-in-law again. No, that's like hell, That means going to hell, actually. And they have these pictures, really colorful pictures of the happy family in heaven. And what is the heaven? Some kind of colorful jungle with parrots and you just are together, you love each other and you enjoy. Really? Where is this happening? You don't already enjoy each other now here. What do you think you will do in heaven? The grandmother will go, don't drink, and the wife number 3 will come out and going, I was giving you my youth, and you betrayed me like that. And what a heaven, really. They are doing it already here. So, very primitive ideas. Very primitive ideas. Far, far away from the philosophy we have, from the knowledge we are receiving. Everything in Krishna consciousness we are receiving. We had some suspicion. Definitely. Anybody coming to Krishna consciousness already has some realizations about pain, temporality of things, about death maybe even. Yes? Otherwise you cannot get interested in Krishna consciousness. There is some realization already. But we have usually no words for it. Neither we have positive alternative what to do with it. It's horrible to know that you die and you don't have Krishna consciousness. I'm born in a nation which is very, very common knowledge that we are all going to die. Everybody agrees. What do you do with that? Makes jokes. That's all. Jokes. Yeah? I don't want to give you a summary study of Czech jokes, but devotees got a glimpse of it. I had a GBC who said, this is Czech, this is sick. That was his analysis. The more morbid it gets, the Czech get very happy. They go, oh, this is so bizarre. This is so morbid. This is called humor, Not all nations are like that, I notice, fortunately. There are people who just... but generally, humor in a material world is laughing about the pain of another. That's generally what it is. You look at any Charlie Chaplin movie, what is it? a summary study of disasters and pain of the other. That's all. And people go in a cinema and look how he fell over. Look how he suffers. Actually quite cruel, And Charlie Chaplin, he said, actually comedy is nothing else as a little bit speeded up reality. That's all. Our whole life is full of these bizarre events, which if you actually expose them and you speed them a little bit up, people start to laugh. I remember that sketch of Charlie Chaplin when he addressed how people are polite. So there was two men meeting at the door, and the man said, "Oh, hello, you go first," through the door. And the other man said, No, you go first. We are both very polite people. And he goes, "No, you go first." And he goes, "No, you go first." And he goes, "No, you go first." And at the end, they are just smashing each other's faces at the door. Who goes first? Very often, material nature is staging such things. You try to do good, and you make things even worse. How many times that can happen? You try to help, and the person you help spits in your face. You know that ambulance in big cities, the ambulance has to be already accompanied by police. Because the people they come to assist attack them. So it's always ambulance and police. So this is charity in a material world. You feed the poor children, then they grow up and become gangsters. This is all this, therefore Prabhupada dismissed all the charity, altruistic, social welfare. Prabhupada dismissed that because you are just increasing the possibility of sinful activity of others. What is the alternative? Like example, we also give prasadam, but there must be knowledge. When prasadam degrades to simply altruistic activity, well, you become part of the same show. You feed, and you can think, well, they get some benefit, this is offered to Krishna. How do they use the benefit? To increase the sinful activity. And you were part of it. So therefore Prabhupada always said prasadam and knowledge. Book, preaching, has to be always added to some degree. Of course, if people don't want to listen, at least we can give them prasadam. That's good. But we should always implement that they are at least aware, this is Hare Krišna prasadam. This is Hare Krišna food. That's already something. Like our restaurants. I managed already 3 restaurants. I never saw a restaurant as a restaurant. For me, this was just another preaching. And this is Prabhupada said we should not preach in a restaurant. He said, let people peacefully eat. But there should be always a book exhibition, shelves. They can read a book in a restaurant if they are interested. There should be some soft bhajan in the back. Hare Krishna mantra like that, simply like this. Prabhupada gave exactly instruction how to manage restaurant. And but no direct preaching on a table, Somebody buys a lunch and you go, preaching. No, he will not come again, actually, So, no, let them eat, but they should be at least this much, an opportunity. I was managing for 15 years a beautiful place. There was a huge temple room, and there was a shop, like here, and there was a restaurant, all in one piece. So people have taken prasadam, and then they went to the shop to buy something. It was like another exit going out. And we were like, they missed the temple room. So we broke a whole wall of the temple room and put a shopping window there. Big shopping window. So when they passed by, they were looking in a temple room. And there was kirtan or whatever. They were going, oh, what is this, And we were like, come in, And then, and then they came in. And they had some darshan and they were joining the chanting, maybe. And then they went in a shop and bought something and left. It was like a trap. It was like, that they get the maximum before they walk out of the door. It was a nice place for 15 years. It was a crazy place here too, yeah. Many crazy people too. You are from Slovenia. You don't know what crazy means. I know you will object, but what we saw, I can tell you endless stories from preaching in Germany, in Berlin, the city of Berlin, which is like the entrance into Patala Loka. This is like entrance into hell. And, I could tell you numberless stories about that. So, Sweden wasn't much better, but more dangerous. Half of the Sandefis is on pills, not drugs, just psychopharmaca. Because you have almost half a year darkness, and this, Drunkard is no problem. I can handle any drunkard. But people who just sit and go, and then they jump on an altar and destroy the deities. That's exactly what happened. Fortunately, I wasn't there. You know why this grind is here? The metal? When you are closing the grind? I'm part of it. Because after they destroyed our deities, I was not there, fortunately. I had to go to Germany. Fortunately, because I don't know what would happen to the man who did that. Sorry, I'm not a Brahmana. So, then I went to our GBC, Hare Krišna. He was a GBC chairman. And I told him that story. And he was pushing that there is a GBC resolution from there on. In the next Mayapur, it was decided that all installed deities in ISKCON must be protected by iron bars. So I found a man from Yugoslavia who was in Sweden, who was a good smith, and he made us a beautiful gates for the deities, which you could close after the Arctic. And during the Arctic it was open, but I had two devotees standing on each side, facing the public, ready to go immediately, also from Yugoslavia. Yugoslavian devotees are very good for these purposes. I could tell you stories from that place. It was, for 15 years, I was in my office sitting there managing. Once somebody tried to attack me, in the office. Well, he ended up lying outside of the office with a broken door. I mean, the whole door went out, he went out. Like I said, I'm not a Brahmana. But, and as he was lying there, out of the kitchen came 3 Yugoslavian devotees with knives and all this. And they saw, bang, the door flew out and he was lying there on the floor and I was standing there and they were going, oh, now something fun. And they were already sitting on him and just, working on him. The poor guy couldn't get up. I just knocked the door with him out and then came 3 Yugoslavian devotees just sitting on him, And I was yelling at them, let him go, Hey, get the knife away, like they were like the kitchen knives. So, this was just one incident. I had many of this. We had dead devotees in the toilet and things like that. And this is not the Bhagavatam class, really. So, this is material world we are living in. So, we should always come together in a Bhagavatam class where we can learn from the Bhagavatam about the different stages of development. And every day remembering us, this is a madhouse we are living in. This is crazy out there. Prabhupada said, it's not difficult to find a madman. He's standing next to you. If you want to see another one, look on the other side. From a spiritual point of view. Can you imagine how Krishna sees the whole thing? Well, you get some glimpse I think it's in 11th canto, Krishna is leaving, okay? And he is giving summary study about the material world and the conditioned souls living in it. Quite a depressing reading. Krishna is not impressed by our material existence. Can you imagine us, the pure souls, ending up in these material bodies, surrounded by flesh, mucus, hair, skin? Us, who operated once upon a time spiritual bodies, are now in this. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, he just symbolized the strength of illusion. He said, here I am, enjoying passing my stool. Actually, yeah. You see people going into the toilet, they are very tense. And when they come out, this is the enjoyment of the material world. It's actually quite morbid. Now, I don't want to go in details, I am supposed to be very expert in spoiling other people's day. But, when you think about this, they think, what beautiful. I mean, look at this girl, it's so beautiful, isn't it? Undoubtedly, Prabhupada said, every woman has a right to be at least in certain portion of her life very beautiful. It must be there, otherwise she wouldn't capture the male for reproduction. That's all. This is actually designed like that. After the reproduction took place, where's the beauty? It goes. Already after the birth, they already struggle, after the birth, the body is increased and doesn't go back again. How do you get your youthful body back again? It's a big issue, not just for females. Males can go crazy too. 50 years old, 60 years old guy, he finally made it. He got some money, he's established. What does he do? He buys himself a motorbike. Harley Davidson, brum, brum, brum. Leather jacket. He's young again. Sometimes they have no hair. Or he buys some hair. Just glue some hair here. And looks like Elvis Presley on motorbike. And then he drives around the block. The schoolgirls go from the school and he goes, wrong, wrong. And they go, oh, here goes the old idiot again, with his bike. And then he speeds up and the hair flies away because it's just glued, So, even old guys, they do that. They buy a big jacket because in every big jacket there's a big man, It's ridiculous. And the ladies, they push the plastic here and there and they go to the doctor, Plastic here and plastic there and, everywhere. And then it gets loose and it falls out again. And then in Bengal, Bengal is lots of wisdom going around. There's a Bengal proverb that the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. It's very subjective. Prabhupada once commented on one fallen sannyasi, his disciple. And he said, look at this, another sannyasi falling down with such an ugly woman. Prabhupada said, I am also in a man body. I can see also there are many beautiful girls in this movement dancing, and I can see that. But you Americans, you always go further. You start to make some plans. This is a difference between pure devotee and not so pure devotee. Pure devotee goes, yeah, this is very nice, this is beautiful. And that's it. Krishna gave this beauty. Amazing. It's mystic power. As one of my Gurus said, a woman has a power to finish you off with one glance. One look. You are finished. Just one look.
And the man goes, because ladies have this beautiful quality, they don't care for your brain. They think sometimes, yeah, it's an intellectual man, very entertaining. But they know how to go around the brain straight into your heart. And you just go, well, I'm a big philosopher, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. And you go, well, and suddenly you find yourself preaching only to ladies. How did that happen? Like all the males disappeared, You think the whole planet is full of women. How could it happen? Well, it's because you are lusty, that's all. So the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. It's very subjective. And it never stops. No. It never stops. I could tell you stories. My God, the problem is when you don't die, you are full of stories, Because, and this is real stuff. This is not imaginations. I visited once my father before he died. He was by that time 85 years old. He died when he was 92. So, so he was 85 years old, and my mother died already. And opposite to him in that house was very kind of nice, fancy house, but it was more or less like a retirement home. Unofficially, it was built like that. So opposite to him was a lady living, also who had a house. She couldn't maintain it anymore. She had some relatives, so she sold the house and bought a flat instead, more easy to maintain. So she was the neighboring lady. So I knew her, She was 82, he was 85. And I met her in an elevator. It was just 2-floor building. The elevator came up, and I met her. And she was standing there in an elevator like this, completely intimidated. And I was going, what happened? And she looked at me completely nervously, and she said, you are the son of Mr. So-and-so. I have to tell you something. Something very serious. I was going, what happened? She was going, I fell in love with your father. I couldn't believe it. I mean, the lady is 82. She was married before her husband died 20 years ago. She was a very honorable widow. And then seeing this 82-year-old lady is going, I mean, she was like a girl. She was like a little girl. I fell in love with your father. I was going, that's okay, that's all right, you have my blessing. Because my father was already in some kind of melancholic state. I was going, well, at least he will wake up. And he did. That lady kept him going for another 10 years. Ladies know how to do that. They are like, it's like, it's like adrenaline, injection. They know how to do this. So, sometimes you see a brahmachari, Hare Rama, I have so many mental problems, Hare Rama. Then he gets married and he's just, he gets the boost, bang, So this can happen. But it's temporary. Very temporary, actually. Temporary, I don't know. I could tell you many funny stories, but sometimes it's so funny, You think, this kind of inspiration is bodily and it's temporary. No. I saw a man. I remember when the marriages, in my days, they started like tsunami, Like one brahmachari got married, suddenly all brahmacharis were married. It was because we had 15 brahmacharinis and 15 brahmacharis. The brahmacharis usually, they are not very bright when it comes to ladies, But the women, the brahmacharinis, they know exactly where the brahmacharis are. They know, they have a perfect They have a 360-degree radar, you know. They know even who is standing behind them. They are just genius, you know. So, so they knew the brahmacharis were like, Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna. So, you know, so suddenly everybody started to get married. I was spared. They knew I'm a really serious case. Nobody suggested to me to get married because it was absolutely not on my agenda. So, you know, so they left me alone. But many got married around me. And I remember our GBC, there was one brahmachari who was already as brahmachari known of being incredible expert in prajalpa, in talk. The whole day, already right away in the morning, nobody could chant the rounds because he was blah, 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 you know, right away in the morning. So, we were all young people, you know. So, then he got married. And still he didn't come to any program. He was just blah, 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 you know. So I was there when my GBC, my authority, called his wife. They were just newly married. Not him. It's a little bit strange. One shouldn't do it, actually, such a thing. One should always speak to the couple. But he was so out of it. So, and because he was a sannyasi, he couldn't sit alone with a woman in a room. I actually dysfunctioned. I played my whole life. I was playing furniture, you know. When a sannyasi doesn't want to be, somehow, I don't know why me, but they always called me, hey, can you just sit here? I am going to talk to a lady. So you just sit there and, you know, like pretend you don't hear anything. Of course, I heard a lot. And you learn a lot. You learn. I am grateful for that because you learn so much. By listening, you know, when the ladies open up and they start to speak, you know, ooh, brr, you know. So I was playing furniture there and he called his wife and he said, you just got married. Your husband still, he doesn't come to any program. He is mumbling the whole day with others. You know, and then he just looked at the lady and he said, he made like this, and he said, you have him wrapped around your small finger. So moved it a little bit, like that. Next morning he was in the Mangalatik. Out. Everybody was surprised. Whoa! So the power emanating from females can be also used that way. And believe me or not, I saw severely troubled cases of brahmacharis being pushed back home, back to Godhead by their wives. It can happen. It can be also opposite. Yes, certainly. You know, when the ladies get overpowered by their emotions, well, then it's expected that the man comes in and goes, okay, enough crying, enough hankering, you know. Here we go. That's expected. But sometimes it's opposite. In Kali Yuga, very difficult sometimes. Who is actually the male and female, you know? I know they have a big discussion in the Kami society about this. No wonder. It's so confused. You know how Prabhupada called us? Members of an unknown caste. Confused cases. Am I Shudra, Brahmana, Vaishya? I don't know. That's how we were raised. Completely confused. I'm a Brahmana. I think I'm a Brahmana. Yeah, I'm a Brahmana. But if you don't believe me, I will smash your face. Well, that's not exactly the Brahmanical approach, isn't it? You know, I'm very renounced, but we have to save all these pure, exclusively female souls. You know, well, so much for the renunciation. You see, material nature is uncompromising. It will come out one way or another. So we didn't came here in Krishna consciousness together to play some games or some theater, you know. designate ourselves. Oh, we read Bhagavatam, yeah, it's Narada Muni, and then comes Vyasadeva, and then it's me. Yeah? Nah. We are all, from Krishna's point of view, and from Prabhupada's point of view, and I know I don't get myself in trouble saying this, we are one big kindergarten. You know? Just imagine how Krishna sees right away in the morning our japa. We are glorifying Krishna's name. Krishna, 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 no. Singvara Prabhu, what are you doing? Well, I'm chanting the holy name. Now just imagine when Krishna hears that. You have a name, okay? Like somebody wants to glorify Manidhara, so he's chanting, Hare, mani, 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 and I go, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm glorifying you. It's not glorification, it's insult. So we have to be careful when we address Krishna, how we do that. It's a responsible thing. It's personal. Everything in Krishna consciousness is personal. I love Krishna, but I hate his parts. There's only one problem. I love Krishna, but all these devotees here, I know them. He and he. You know? You think Krishna likes that? It's like if you would say, Krishna, I love you, but I hate you flute. No. If you love Krishna, you love his parts also. And we are all his parts. So when there is a problem, you see a problem's coming and conflicts and this, he forgot. We forgot we are all his parts, you know. We are dealing. And unfortunately, the understanding has to come from both sides. If it's only one-sided, it will not work. I can think, oh, you are Krishna's part. But if you act like a dog or an envious person, then how can it will not work. So this is the challenge we ever had. How we all together understand we are Krishna's part. Once this is understood, so many problems will disappear. Actually, they will be here still. Because we have different bodies, express themselves differently, you know. Yeah. This is a world of dualities. So there will be always some duality, some discomfort, heat, cold, friend, enemy. This will all be there. But Prabhupada gave us a perfect ways how to deal with that. Tolerate. Just tolerate. It's not so much, you know. Somebody comes in your life, I'm your enemy. And then he dies. Again, I'm talking from reality. You know. Most of my critics and enemies actually died already. And you are thinking, was it worth of it? Wasting time with some, you know. Now for the sake of the mission and protecting the mission of Srila Prabhupada, yes, we should oppose. And yes, we should. There is 3 ways how to deal with the offender to the mission. You cut out his tongue, not recommended. You know. You defeat him in argument, usually not possible. Or the third is, you just leave. You just go. And leaving in Krishna consciousness means working on a positive alternative. This is exactly what Prabhupada did. Did he argue with his God brothers? No. Did he aggressively address them? No. He just went out and did what his spiritual master told him. And when he asked for help and assistance, he didn't get it. So he did it again. With hippies. With the completely uncultured, completely strange people. This is so shocking. how Prabhupada spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the planet with the most amazing people. You can read some testimonies from God brothers from the days they were all joining, starting with Govinda Dasi, end up with Gargamuni, and this is the books. You can read there from the early days of ISKCON. Gargamuni describes, he was in very early beginning there, and he describes a bhakta joint, completely crazy on LSD. And he was just talking. And they told him, okay, maybe you should go home and cool down. Well, he had no home. And he didn't want to leave. So Gargamuni went to Prabhupada and said, there's this crazy guy walking around talking. Prabhupada gave a simple solution to the problem. He said, lock him in a room if he doesn't want to leave. And tell him, if he doesn't chant Hare Krishna, he doesn't get any prasadam. And that he was scared, because he liked prasadam. Prasadam, I already like prasadam. So he locked him in a room, and the man stopped, mumbled, there was nobody there, and he started to chant Hare Krishna. It helped very much. He came out, he was just chanting Hare Krishna, taking prasadam. And what happened next? Well, he became one of the leading acharyas in ISKCON. It's just an example what Prabhupada could do. Can you imagine? So we are all kindergarten mercy cases of Srila Prabhupada. That's what we are. We should never forget that. Regardless of the shlokas we learn, regardless of the knowledge we acquired, regardless of even mystic opulences, because to go out on the street and distributing books requires mystic power. Definitely. And Sankirtan devotees know that. You go to a person and say things you never said. Where is this coming from? I remember once in a small town in Germany, a guy came out of the car, and I knew he's a ranger, guy arranged for the forest. But usually they have even uniforms for that. He had no uniform, nothing. So I greeted him like a ranger. He was shocked. He said, how do you know I'm a ranger? I said, well, it's all in the books here, I could tell you numberless stories about dogs. Yesterday there was some talk about dogs. Oh, I could tell you stories from that. In Germany, we used to go door to door. Difficult. Especially countryside. There's a, gate, garden, and a house. Yeah, but already at the gate you have a heavy dog, Yeah. And Vorsicht, bissige Hund means that dog is trained to bite you. So how do you get in a house like this? So I had a whole thing with dogs. Somehow I have no problem with dogs. Heavy dog. Going a big dog. Yes, big dog. It's completely established. It's your place, you are guardian. And the dog looked at me, he said, good you know that. And I said, so now, once we understood that, you could kindly let me come in, and I just go in the door and come back out again, you know that? He understood that. Huge dog. So the gate was open. I just slowly went in, and the dog looked at me like, be careful, it's my place. And I told him, I told you, you are a big, big dog. Very, very respectful, big thing. And I pat him on the head. And the dog was like, now we understood each other. And he walked with me to the door. I rang the bell. The guy opened the door. He was shocked. He said, what did you do to my dog? Yesterday he bit the postman, And the dog was just tick, 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 tick with the dog. And he said, this guy is fine. And again, I told him, well, it's all in the books, we are all eternal persons, and this is also a person dog, isn't it? Every karma will agree that the dog is also a person. Kamis make jokes about this. My dog is 90% human and 10% dog. That's how closely they are related to these creatures. And they are very sensitive. And then there were other incidents. Actually, the worst dogs are the little ones. Because they have an inferiority complex, you know. So they're just... So I ignored the dog. I just walked in and he bit, my pants. And I got so fed up. I was young. I was still very young. So I took the dog and threw him over the fence in a neighboring garden. It was not a big deal. I rang the bell and the people opened and said, "Where's the dog?" And then I saw the small dog in a neighboring garden behind the fence, just quiet. He didn't bark anymore. He was just... And then we were speculating, how did the dog got in a neighbor's garden? So in the meanwhile, and they were nice actually. They bought a book and I was going, bye-bye, So there was a variety of things. So with dogs, I can tell you all stories, endless stories with dogs. So sometimes I offered the book on the street to a dog, not to the man. I offered the book to the dog and the dog and he was like, and I told the man, he likes the book. You must buy the book. Your dog likes the book. He looks like he can read. And the man was laughing, and he just bought a book. So, it's always the essence of Krishna consciousness is that we are all eternal persons. It's all personal. So there are even devotee-like persons, I will especially use that expression, devotee-like persons who don't understand that. It's called Kanishta Adhikari. This is me, this is my Krishna, and you get out of here. Or, in better case, you can give a donation. Because only then, when you give me donation, I will introduce you to God. Because God is my, I own God. The God owners. So they have two ways. Either by engagement in devotional service, they get purified and become more humble and get some mercy from Madhyamadikari, second-class devotee. Or, due to their offenses, they turn into a completely impersonal, impersonalist. Completely bereft, Mayavada, completely bereft of any personal understanding. We saw this happening in action. It's scary to see this. Because you think it's a devotee, right? A tilak. Sometimes they are very expert in rituals. They know even how to quote the Shastra, but they don't know what they are talking about. Because as soon as you open Prabhupada's books, it's full of personalism. Everything. Narada Muni talking, everything. Receiving the mercy from other persons, from superiors. Whole Krishna consciousness is based on personal interaction. And it's challenging, it's dangerous. Because you never know what you get. Because humans are not robots. They like now to turn the whole society into robot society. They like that. It's a very popular idea. Because they think then we can control it. Prabhupada said, impossible. Impossible. You cannot suppress the individual initiative because Krishna is in the heart. They would like to have also robot-like Krishna. Why not? Robot-like religion. That's just what they do. They go in a church and they go Sunday, and then they go out, and it becomes rituals. Everything becomes a ritualistic, and that means impersonal. So we should be aware of that and try not to let it come in. We came here to Krishna consciousness to worship the Supreme Person, and that worship is only possible in company of other persons. Alone, Prabhupada said, very difficult. Very difficult. Association of devotees. There were these meetings coming together. It's very important. I know countries, actually Krishna consciousness is flourishing in countries where naturally even people have this quality. Why is Krishna consciousness exploding in Russia? They don't even know how many devotees they have. It's impossible to keep count on that. Why? There is simple elements. Russians spontaneously like strong leadership. Even sometimes they don't know who it is. You know, I joked about this when I was in Russia. I said, there's Lenin, Stalin, Putin, and Krishna. There's a difference, you know. So, you know, they want to have a strong leader. That's the original idea is good. Then, they love austerity. Again, sometimes a little bit too much. You know, yeah, every Ekadashi, full fast. You know, everybody, full fast. You know, there was already examples of devotees fasting themselves to death. Tell me whether they like this. You know, when they go they have these primitive saunas, you know, and then they go out in the snow, it's -30, and then they go, you know, this is Russian. This is really Russian. So, austerity. Not bad idea, but we have our Krishna conscious austerities. And they're quite pleasant, actually. So, strong leadership, desire, inclination to be austere, you know, then religiosity. Prabhupada said they are all basically theistic, not atheistic. The leaders were the demons, but general people in Russia, Prabhupada said he was the only ones, and he said no, they are actually all, you know, inclined, God, you know, God conscious in their way. So that's the third element. And then comes the real thing, to come together. They love it. I was in Russia, I gave a lecture to 7,000 devotees. And they danced together. I mean, to see 7,000 devotees dancing like this, they love it. So, no wonder that Krishna consciousness is a kind of so easy. It's just, Prabhupada said, enthusiasm, very good. But little brain is required. So they asked me to stay in Russia to work on that. Because, no, you cannot offer vodka to Krishna, no. It's still a problem, you know. It looks the same like water. In Russia, you have to be careful when they give you water. It happened to a devotee, you know. He was like, well, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, and we're going, it looks the same, you know. Because they drink vodka from these cups, like this. No problem. You know. We're just a local congregation, you know. Yeah. They grow up with that stuff. It's like when you go to Italy, you know, and they don't have no discrimination between water and wine, you know. No, vino tinto, you know. I saw in Italy, they put it into babies, you know. Vino tinto. Water, it's washing hands, you know, but, you know. This is like every country has its own conditioning and problems. But, you know, but the elements built in there. And there are countries like that. In general, Slavian countries are more inclined into this coming together. Germans come together too, but somebody has to organize it. It has to be perfectly organized. Number 35 meets number 34. At 3:02, then we can have a Vaishnava Sangha. You know, it's like this. Usually a devotees, it starts in Slavian countries and it ends up in India. Meetings, yeah, well, you know, it's officially 4 o'clock, but when we start 4:30, it's not a big deal, right? In India, there's no clock at all. When do we start? When people come. And when do we stop? When people leave. That's it. You know, it's very difficult to manage. In India, it's like, And amazingly, Prabhupada was not like that. Like when he established Vrindavan temple, one of the foremost functions in Vrindavan temple, there was a bell hanging, and the guard has to ring every hour the bell. And Prabhupada was completely aware of that. He said, it's 3 o'clock, the bell was not ringing. Where is he? Get him. You know? He was very punctual. Prabhupada was very organized, very punctual, very non-Indian, really. Actually, that comes from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was also extremely organized, so efficient in his time schedule that he could do so many things. He was a high court judge, then he wrote these amazing books, and then he had his bhajan, incredible, exactly timed. So anyway, this is just examples. So, acquiring knowledge, being endowed with mystic powers, enthusiasm, inspiration, all this is given to us. And if we are not getting it, we can pray for it. It's not restricted, as Prabhupada writes at the end of the purport. There is no ban on this. It's available to everybody, provided we qualify ourselves. And if we don't qualify ourselves yet, Prabhupada again in this purport used the word gradually, then we wait. And Krishna is impressed. He is not getting it and he is still waiting. Then I have to give it to him. Just patiently waiting. That's all. There's 2 things required, Jiva Goswami says. Patience and enthusiasm. Kamis don't know how to do that. Either they are enthusiastic and not patient, or they are patient but they don't do anything. No, we do, we strive, we work on it, and then wait. And if it's not coming, we do our routines, we do our chanting, we do our reading, we do our things anyway. Regardless of the result. Because it's our duty. That's always the last line of defense. I have to do it because it's my duty. And duty doesn't require happiness, it doesn't require ecstasy, it's just my duty. And then Krishna goes, oh, he is doing his duty, I will make him happy. That's all. There's some questions or comments or points to this.
Hare Krishna. One devotee who is not here asked me to ask you this question. One devotee who is not here asked me to ask you this question. He's also Sankirtan devotee, and he realized that when we have Harinams and people start dancing with us, then if we approach them, they go away. So what is better, to leave them there, that they're enjoying Harinam and singing, and we don't go with books to them, or what to do in that case? This was his question.
We have to be satisfied that most of the people, make advancement by agyata sukriti. That means they don't know, they don't take part, but they take part passively. They listen, the holy name. This was always like that. You can be happy they go away. You know, I experience they can attack you. You know. So, what can we do? Just keep on going. Just imagine Prabhupada going out in a park, standing under a tree, completely alone. Not one disciple, there was no ISKCON, there was nothing. And he just stood under a tree and was just chanting. Not everybody was joining and immediately. It's just some hippie passed by, because hippies like music. So, they were like, okay. And then they came again. The real people in Krishna consciousness, they come gradually. If a man comes from the street here and goes, I love it, no questions, no doubt, I love it, it's all great here, fantastic, I want to stay here. He's a madman. You can be quite sure he's mad. Because a normal person will check it out, ask questions, investigate, what is this? And there we are ready. There we should be ready. Prabhupada even said we should not preach to people who think they already have something. Then what? What do you want to do? It's like trying to fill in water in a full cup. It doesn't work. So we have to be satisfied with that. Prabhupada said, I was in a program when Prabhupada came to Germany with a bombastic propaganda. We arranged, I was not the manager, I was just from Sankirtan, but we arranged a program for him. Big hall, stage, like a theater. It was a big program with posters everywhere, and then, and you know who came? Nobody. It was a full stage of devotees. Prabhupada was sitting in the middle of Vyasasana, and he wanted everybody to come up and chant. So it was a big kirtan, Prabhupada sitting, and then you look in an audience, there was only the first 2 rows were full from the whole theatre. And that was the parents of devotees, or something like that, or some devotees. Nobody came. Prabhupada was absolutely unimpressed. He just, ladies and gentlemen, and then he gave a lecture. The empty hall. There was only one man, he was crazy. I remember, he was sitting in a back, and he listened to the lecture, and the Prabhupada said, some questions. And then the man said, do you know Guru Maharaji? That was one of the prominent cheaters those days in Germany. Guru Maharaji? Prabhupada said, no. And that was the end of the program. And devotees were so depressed, they were like, oh, so much arrangement and then this. And Prabhupada was like bliss. He was completely, I did my thing. Take it or leave it. And then the one devotee said, Prabhupada, sorry, but it was just an empty theatre. Prabhupada said, no. We were chanting, all the demigods were present. Whole Guru Parampara was there. It was full. That was exemplary, like that. So, how did Prabhupada start it? A one man alone. We have to be really accustomed to it, and I can say it, after 54 years, there are very few devotees coming. Real devotees. People who want to change and surrender their lives. We have many visitors. Yeah. And Prabhupada knew it too. He said, we are for everybody, for the visitors too. I could say more, but it's heavy stuff, You find it all in Prabhupada's letters. Prabhupada said, only those who fully surrender, they should get initiation. The rest should be encouraged to contribute. It's not this kind of people, Yuri becomes Janananda Das and you never see him again. Hey, where's Janananda Das? He got initiated yesterday, where is he? Well, he left. How does his life changed? Not much. So this kind of fashionable initiation, fashionable thing, it's like Krishna consciousness is sometimes used like some kind of spicing, like in a restaurant, a little bit too little salt, or you put a little bit, make it more tasty, your material life. People try to spice their material life with Krishna consciousness. Well, it's something. It's a Krishna conscious spice, But you can spend many, many lifetimes like this before you come to the real thing. Sarva dharma paridyaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Give it all up, even your religion, everything, and surrender unto me. Who can do that? We are trying to surrender, yeah. But let's see, it's not exactly unconditional. I will surrender if, if this is there, and this is there, and this is there, then I can surrender, yes. So, I'm personally completely at ease with this, Harinam is Harinam. We just chant, the whole town gets blessed by the vibration. And the rest, if they come on this, we heard it yesterday, devotees going around for days, hardly distributing anything. They were still on Sankirtan. Because just by them being there and trying, already some benefit was delivered to the location they were operating in. Just by existing. Just by being there. But of course we would like to see more, we would like to see some feedback. It's frustrating, yes, for every preacher sometimes, just I can quote, I will not mention any names, but one of the most liberal preachers I ever met, enthusiastic, dynamic, liberal preacher, he came to me in kind of friendly way and he said, he knows me, he knew me, so he's very good in knowing people. So he came to me and he said, I know that feeling. You have it too. Sometimes, I would also like to take out the machine gun and going, Because the arrogance staring in your face on the street, this completely normal way to go to hell. And they make even propaganda for that. Come with us, join us. It's not like Maya is passive. It's not like these people are passive. They make their propaganda too. Everywhere, propaganda. Everywhere you look, there is some advertisement. We will show you how to go to hell. Come with us. Unfortunately, most people do buy it. And some people say, no, I know a solution, I know that. Then why don't you do something against it? Why don't you wake up? I know I'm sleeping. This is so difficult to wake up people who pretend to sleep. A person who is really sleeping, you may wake him up. That's the reason why to Krishna consciousness come actually mostly people who are deeply engrossed with ignorance. Because they are really sleeping, then they wake up. And they think, wow. That's kind of innocent. But the people who pretend to sleep, and you try to wake them up, they go, I'm sleeping. That's very difficult to preach to. What do you want to preach to such a guy? So, we have to live with that. We do our thing anyway. And this is what attracted me to Krishna consciousness. I never met people before who were so stubborn in doing their own thing like devotees. I was shocked. I was going, these people don't even care. Of course, in Germany they a little bit overdid it. I asked, like when I was going Sankirtan, do we have a permit to sell books here? Or there is some legal permit? The devotee looked at me and said, Nishingadev already gave the permit. And then he just moved on. Well. Prabhupada said you have to catch the fish without getting wet. So some discrimination, that came later. Much later, and after big trouble. We got so much trouble in Germany. Because one thing demons really don't tolerate, that you ignore them. That really makes them upset. So whatever can be done, a treaty, something, it's okay. But in an ultimate sense, no compromise. You can study Prabhupada's letters when the first Ratha Yatra in London was forbidden by the London authorities. And devotees are going, okay, there will be no Ratha Yatra. We already built a Ratha Yatra cart, but we don't get any permission. Prabhupada said, permission, not permission. You drive that cart in the middle of London, park it anywhere, and don't move. Let them move you, you don't move. And you tell them, permission, or we are not moving. Prabhupada was absolutely... Devotees couldn't believe it. They said, well, there will be some trouble, police, and they will drag us away or whatever. He said, I don't care. You don't move. When the city management realized that, then suddenly there was a permission. This was even before the Indian community was there in England. After when the Indian community came up, then the politicians are, they're like prostitutes. They're like realizing, this is too many people, okay. They're like that. Prabhupada was very, very, on a certain level, no compromise. You can shoot me, you can put me in jail, whatever. The first time devotees in Australia went on Harinam, they put them in jail. Prabhupada traveled around the world, and you can hear it in the lectures. He's saying, all my disciples in Australia are in jail. And I told them, just keep on chanting. No compromise. And you know what happened in Australia? One of the chief of the Australian church, some Australian bishop, I don't know the details, he appealed to the government. He said, these people, whoever they are not Christians, but they are praising God. You want to keep them in jail for that? Whenever the time you will put us in jail, So he was appealing to all devotees were released. Prabhupada wrote him a thanking letter. Thank you very much for the support. So that was Prabhupada. I remember when I joined in a city of Heidelberg in Germany, very conservative part, really conservative city. And devotees were blasting the shopping street with Harinam all the time. So the city management issued a law. From now on, it's all forbidden to sing anything in a shopping street for everybody. And they sent a special copy to the temple. Totally forbidden. Oh boy, we had Suhadra Swami sitting there. He was like the RGB or whatever it is, So he was there, and his mentality was also completely fouled. I remember the letter he wrote back. Thank you very much for your letter which we received. Thank you for the encouragement, and we would like to inform you we tripled our time in a shopping street chanting Hare Krishna. And they did that. There was no response. There was no trouble either. Because they realized, oh, with these people it's not funny, We threatened them and they tripled the whole thing. So not so good. So on that level, no compromise. I'm not recommending to do this in Ljubljana, by the way. I know that you have your limited time for Harinams, and this is okay. This is just agreement. But stopping the whole thing out of question. You cannot stop Hare Krishna movement. Not possible. You can shoot us, you can kill us. And I live like this since I joined. I had a policeman putting guns on my head in a police station, and I would like to shoot you. And all this. So what? I was thinking, what is the better place to die on Sankirtan? It's just like, Hare Bol, Sankirtan ki jai. I just wait for the clicking of the trigger. So it's like, this at least, so far I can say, this is the movement I joined. And nobody shot me yet. Nobody stopped anything yet. The only thing which can stop the Hare Krishna movement is us. Us. We can do that. Prabhupada said the problem can come only from inside, no outside. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.